Welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart, a podcast where we talk openly and honestly with the goal of normalizing mental health conversations. I am really glad you're here today because this episode is one of the raw ones. We are talking about depression and recovery, something that way too many people experience, but not enough people talk about out loud. Depression doesn't always look like what people expect. It's not always crying on the bathroom floor or staying in bed for days. It can be going to work every day, taking care of your family, smiling in front of people, and still feeling completely empty or disconnected inside. Recovery isn't clean or predictable either. It doesn't always mean you beat something and move on. Sometimes it looks like showing up again, even though you didn't feel like it yesterday. Sometimes it's admitting you need help when everything in you is telling you not to. Recovery is about learning to live with yourself in a new way, whether that includes therapy, medication, rest, connection, boundary setting, or just remembering to eat something and drink water. This episode features Genese Smith, a nurse, life coach, and someone who knows firsthand what it's like to push yourself past the breaking point. Her story includes a diagnosis that she didn't expect, burnout that snuck up on her, and a stroke that changed everything. We dig into this story, the hard parts, the guilt, the shame, the hiding, the pressure to pretend you've got it all together because other people are depending on you. Genese gets it, and the reason this conversation is so powerful is because she has been there, and she doesn't sugarcoat any of it. Now, before we jump into that, I want to take a minute and talk about the month we're stepping into. It's hot, it's busy, it's got fireworks, and for a lot of people, July is emotionally heavy. If you're in the US, you're probably surrounded by messages about freedom and celebration and summer fun, but this can also be a month that brings grief, loneliness, and even anxiety, especially for folks who are feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or isolated right now. Some people are managing family stress, some are navigating trauma anniversaries, others are dealing with the financial pressure of trying to make summer memories while also just trying to keep the lights on. If you are not feeling light or festive right now, you are not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. So in this space, we are holding all of that, the big, messy, conflicting emotions, the real life behind the highlight reels. And with that, we're going to jump into today's conversation. Here's my interview with Genese Smith on depression, recovery, and everything in between. This one's full of honesty, perspective, and the kind of insight that only comes from living through it. Stick around. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am so excited for our conversation tonight, and I am so glad that you are here listening and here watching and here to join us and join the conversation. We are going to be talking about depression and recovery and the healing journey that Genese Smith, my lovely guest tonight, has been on. So I'm really excited to get to that. Before we get to that, I just want to say we do have a question queue open. If you are looking to ask a question, type exclamation point, the letter Q, follow that with your question, and that'll get your question into a question queue so we can make sure to address it while we are live here today. And I love it when people ask questions, so please feel free to ask questions. Rose, I see you in the chat. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad that you are here and welcome. So today I am talking with Genese Smith, a registered nurse with 28 years of experience who became a certified transformational life coach after her own journey through depression. Genese felt called to support women over 40 struggling with hopelessness, guiding them through coaching, counseling, and spiritual support. Despite facing personal and professional challenges, she continues to share her story to inspire others. She now embraces nursing as a ministry and is developing a course to help women navigate life struggles. Genese is here to talk about, as I mentioned, depression, recovery, and the healing journey that she has been on. So Genese, thank you so much for being here and for agreeing to have this conversation with us today.
Thank you for having me too.
Absolutely.
Such a pleasure being here and being able to share my story. Thank you.
Yeah. We were talking ahead of time about just how much we each love to hear other people's stories and everything. And I think it's just such a treat to be like, tell me what you've been through. Tell me about your life. Tell me where you've been in life, because sometimes you can find things that really are similar to something you've been through or something you've never even considered to be a challenge for other people. And either way, you learn something. Either you make that connection with your own life or you make a connection with, oh, wow, other people have been through this. I had never considered that. So really, yeah, love it that you're here. Love it that you're here to share the story 100%. If y'all are looking to connect with Genese, I do have some links for you. So I'm going to go ahead and post those. Oops, where did there we go. I'm going to go ahead and post those for you guys. She's got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Alignable. If you're looking for her anywhere on there, make sure that you go and find her, look her up, give a couple of her posts a like, give them a little comment, anything that you need to do. And then, yeah, like I said, just welcome. Really, really happy that you're here. We do have a question in the question queue already. Rose would like to know if you crochet.
Well, I tried learning when I was younger because my mom did it a lot, but unfortunately, I didn't keep it up. So, no.
That's okay. I know
Would you like?
Rose makes amazing little crochet projects and everything. She's posted a couple of the pictures to our Discord. It's just really neat to see. Like I am not a crocheter, but it's really neat to see when other people are.
Yes, yes.
For sure. So, can you just tell us a little bit about your experiences and what made you become interested in specializing in nursing and coaching?
All right, let me see. I would start with nursing first because and what I'd say, unlike most people, most people say that they've always wanted to be a nurse. I've never always wanted to be a nurse. So nursing was actually what I'd call a default for me because growing up I wanted to be a doctor, right? I love the sciences, I love biology, and I'm going to say something that's going to sound really gross, but as a child growing up, there are these baby frogs, baby toads. I would like have a little scapula and I would cut them out and I'd open them up. And I know it sounds gross, but it's just what I did as a kid. And the lizards, I'd get them, I'd find them, and I'd cut them and I'd open them. So I mean, biology was just really a really good experience for me. So I was really good at biology. I loved it and I excelled in it a lot. But when it came to chemistry and physics, it was just not a natural for me. And I didn't do that well in them. But, just looking back, sometimes you will look back at your life and I just think I took a lot of things for granted then. And I think I wasted a lot of time. And if I'd spent more time studying, I think I would have passed it. But unfortunately, I did not excel in chemistry and physics. So at the end, I didn't meet all the subjects that I needed to be a doctor. So then they had this pre-qualified nursing program that they were offering. And then at that time, I joined it. And then from there, I never looked back. It was just nursing for me. I just went into nursing. And like I tried to leave from nursing as I go along because I didn't like the hours. But, I'll get back into that hopefully later in the program. And I'll probably say more about that. But for now with the transformational life coach, that's totally different. This one was by choice. And it was on one of my quests to do another business. And doing that business, I was like really burnt out doing the business. And I was diagnosed as being clinically depressed. And my doctor gave me an ultimatum to either choose the business or choose my health.
Wow.
And so I had that ultimatum there. And then I went through depression there. I went recovery, and having gone through, I'm just trying to see how I can summarize it by not getting into too much, just to answer the question. And then having gone through that and realized that, people can actually be helped through it, and seeing that there were so many people going through depression, and sometimes you don't see something until it touches your life and then it becomes a part of you. And then I realized that, I really wanted to help other people who were going through that. And so I said, I saw where my life was transformed. And so then that's why I decided to be a transformational life coach through that, just to summarize it. Yes.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me, especially when someone works in health or mental health or helping people in some way, how they got there. Like some people are just like, I felt called to this. This is where I was meant to be from the very beginning. I always knew. And then for some people, it's like I experienced something that really opened my eyes and made me want to do this, which was the case. That's why I have this podcast. Something happened in my life, and I was like, oh, I need to help people. I need to do this. I need to help people, because what if someone else is going through this and they don't know that they're not alone? So just hearing you talk about, you really enjoyed it, but then you're struggling with all of this, and you're like, okay, now I'm here to just share my story and kind of help other people where I can. That's really inspiring. I think that that's great. It's quite a journey. Obviously, you're not finished with your journey or anything. So how do you balance now, having been through burnout, having been through depression? You're on, kind of this recovery side of things. How do you balance nursing and coaching and taking care of your own self and your own well-being?
That's a good question. And someone would think that I've learned by now, but I haven't actually. I want to still say that I'm still a work in progress. Every time, every day, I'm learning more and more how to fit it all in, right? Because, I can see the purpose that nursing has for me. As I say, over the years, I've tried to leave nursing, but it just keeps holding on to me. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I think it's going to be a ministry for me. And I realize that I can reach more people, but because of the setting, in an institutional setting, your time is governed, right? You're like chop, 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 right? You have to do certain things in certain times. So then you don't get a chance to do the things that you'd want to do, right? So, and then you have to do all these upgrades and everything. But what I try to do is have a schedule. And I've learned that, I have to allocate time for family. I have to be very intentional, because if I'm not intentional, and I have to be intentional with rest. Because that was always my weakness. I've been a workaholic, and I had to learn and be intentional and saying, okay, rest and don't feel guilty. Because, when I rest, I don't know. I'm like, okay, how do I rest? Am I supposed to be sleeping? Am I supposed to be watching a movie? Am I supposed to sit still? What am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing when I'm resting? So I'm still trying to discover that as I go, and feel comfortable in that space, because I do still feel some amount of guilt when I see I'm going to take a lot of time for myself, right? So I'm trying to deal with that as still.
It's real easy to fall into that trap of what am I supposed to be doing when you're resting? Because it's like the rest is the thing that you're doing. But that is so hard.
Yes.
That is so difficult to put into practice, and it's so difficult to remember, and it's so difficult to feel okay about also, because we are used to taking care of all of these things. You've got a job where you take care of people for a living. For me, it's my kids. Like, it's my job to take care of my kids. And so I very much am like, okay, no, there's always something to do. There is always something that I need to be doing or need to be working on. It's really hard to just say, okay, it's actually okay if I just for a day don't actually accomplish anything, because the accomplishment is the not doing. But that's really difficult. That is incredibly difficult to internalize that it's okay to do that. We're not raised that way, or I wasn't. I'll speak for my own self. I was not raised that way. That's
true.
To me, like, that's lazy. You're not doing anything. You're not being productive. That's lazy. So yeah, it's really difficult. You're definitely not the only one who struggles with that. I know that I am right there with you.
Yes.
Is there a movie you feel more people should see, maybe during one of their rest days?
Oh, yeah, it's something that would encourage them, especially for persons who like give up on themselves. I have several, but you asked for a movie, so I'm going to.
You can give me several. Several's okay.
There is a movie that talks it's called Facing the Giant. And it talks about giants that we have to face. It's more of a sports concept. I like to watch movies that deals with sports, because I learn so much about discipline when I watch anything to do with sports. So there's always so much to learn from sports. So anything to do with sports, it always attracts me
Yeah.
because I learned this where that is concerned, right? And but in this particular movie, this coach, he had his he has his own personal problem, but he was still able to inspire his team to use faith to conquer and to oppose the team. But one of the scenes that I really liked specifically was when he was on the field and he was trying to encourage his team, one person in there not to quit, and he knelt beside the guy and he wanted him to go right across the field. I mean, I'm not a baseball person, so I don't know all the terms, but and he wanted him to do the walk along and he just kept shouting, "Don't quit, don't quit." And he just continued and he just went right across even further than he thought he would. And it was very inspiring for me. And what I learned from that movie too is that, and what I would my takeaway was that giants can actually be defeated. No matter what your giants are, it can be defeated. And then no matter how we try to avoid, we can never avoid our giants. We're going to have to face our giants at some point. And when we think about facing our giants, we have to be prepared because that's what happens. Sometimes we're not prepared for them because we just think it's all okay. So I'm just saying we should never be afraid to prepare because it's hard work to prepare to face those giants, even as we deal with depression too. You know, it's a giant that hits us hard, you know, but we can actually prepare for it. So, I mean, yeah, so that's a movie that I really like, that really touches me and encourages me. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like a great one, and I just added it to my want to see list also while we were talking. So that's good. I'll have to watch it pretty soon. But yeah, I mean you're right. There's always going to be a giant. There's a giant in everyone's life, and no matter what that is, if it's depression or if it's something with your job or if it's something just motivation wise, whatever it is, you got to face it sometimes. And if you don't, well, you are going to. Sometimes you might not win.
Yeah,
You're going to face it whether you like it or not.
that's
But
correct.
you got to know how to go about doing that. I like that. That sounds like a good one. Now you said you have several movies. Do you have any more that you wanted to share?
Um, there is one called um, War Room, and it's a lot of the movies that I watch are Christian based because I watch that just to build my faith sometimes. So, and War Room, it's one that say that you need to have a room where you war, where you're fighting in the place of prayer, you know, about whatever you're facing in life. And it was this elderly lady. She was encouraging another lady who was having problems in her marriage to pray more because I mean she was going through so much. Her husband was cheating on her and she was just frustrated with what was happening. And she just thought that, I mean, how she put it was that the enemy got into her house and she
Mm.
got really angry with what was happening. And I think there are times when we should get frustrated with things that are at us. I mean, we're lovers and we're not fighters, but when things come to attack her love and attack her family and attack who we are, we should really fight and say no more, you know? And that's what I like when she just got up and just started to speaking things and said, you know, no, I've had enough. This is it. I will have this no more, right? And yeah, so I really like that too. But on the secular one, I would go to a secular movie that
Sure.
I really like. It's Pretty Woman.
Ah,
I
yeah.
watched that movie over and over again because I really like that movie. And it was it touched me because it's someone she didn't think a lot of herself, but now she met a man who put purpose into her life and it just changed her life around. It just made her a total different person. And there's just I just learned so much from that, you know, from the person who she was and who she became after that encounter, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that as well.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one. Well, I haven't seen the first two. I'll have to go back. I'll have to go and watch those at some point for sure, and I'll let you know how that goes. So,
Yeah.
getting back to kind of your personal story, can you share a little bit about what your experience with depression was and kind of what led you to seek help eventually?
Okay. Well, I'm laughing because I didn't seek help because I thought I was depressed.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't think I was depressed because everyone knows me. As far as I'm concerned, people who know me would not put depression in the same statement with me, right? Because I'm just like a happy-go-lucky person, you know. I'm serving people, I'm doing everything for everyone, right? But there was, as I say, when I started this specific business, I felt like I was working like 24/7s, right? And I was helping everyone. Everyone, they were satisfied with what I was giving them. But when I came home, I was so exhausted and I found that I was crying a lot, you know. I'm
Mm.
talking to my husband, different conversation, I'm crying. I'm like, what's going on? And I was just getting really concerned about, I wasn't coping a lot very well, but I didn't see it as depression. But I said, I have a very good conversation with my family doctor at times. So when I had my next checkup with her, I said, okay, let me have this conversation with her. And I'm like, I find myself crying. She said, Genese, that's not normal. I'm like, yeah, I'm crying. Like people cry. I mean, she said, that's not normal, Genese. You can't be crying all the time. And then she gave me a series of questions to answer. You went through these questions and I answered them. And, the score came up, that I was depressed. I'm like, she said, you're depressed. I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. I can't be depressed. And I'm thinking too, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse. I should know better. I wouldn't allow my life to reach a point that I'm depressed. Like, who does that? That's so. I was feeling everything at that time when she told me. I mean, I'm depressed. So I'm shocked. I'm ashamed. It's just so much different emotion that's going through me. I'm frustrated with myself to allow all of this to happen, that I'm a professional. So how am I going to help my patients? So now if I'm depressed, I can't go to work, right? And how am I going to go tell my colleagues that I'm depressed? I'm going to tell my sister that the doctor said I'm depressed. I want to tell my parents the doctor said I'm depressed. I want to tell my husband. Like, how am I going to share this information? I'm not. I didn't. I shared it with my husband,
Yeah.
but I didn't share it with my parents. I didn't share it with my siblings. And at work, I didn't share it at work. And then I had to go on, what do you call that again? When you're on modified. So she
Mm.
put me on modified duties. So I was doing 8 hours. So I was cut down to, instead of doing 6 days or 5 days a week, I was cut down to just doing 4 hours. And like they don't necessarily have to tell why you're off sick. They just say, cannot come to work. So, I mean, I just handed that in to my manager.
Yeah.
And I didn't discuss it with my colleagues because I was embarrassed. Like, how do I tell them? And so I was unmodified, like I had to go check up. And then there was this group of persons too at the workplace, because whenever you have to be off for a certain while, then you get referred to another group of people to monitor you as well, right? So, I mean, that part was the hardest part for me, stopping from work. And I'm a very emotional person, and I feel some tears coming. Please help me. I'm just gonna
It's okay. It's all
breathe.
right. Yep. Take your time. It's all
Um,
good.
but um, but I stopped from work for a bit, and I could feel a little bit of difference. But when I stopped from work, I didn't know what to do at the time. So you would think that I would use the time to rest or sleep, but it felt weird
Yeah.
not working. So of course I started going on the internet, probably searching all the stuff, what did I do? And and then I started doing courses too, because I didn't know what to do with myself, because I'm not working. But it was an interesting journey for me. And I kept most of it to myself. It was not until after I went through it that I was able to relate to other persons about it.
Yeah.
but I found it hard to deal with, just the embarrassment and the, yeah.
Yeah, kind of that
Yeah.
that shame again, that piece of it.
Yes, yes.
It's interesting that you
And
talk
that's the
about,
stigma that's attached to it,
yeah,
because when you hear
yeah,
people talk about other people, they whisper and stuff. So you're
yeah.
like, I don't want to be a part of that
You don't want to be the name being
statistic.
whispered around. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you talk about, it was easier to share with your colleagues after you were already back and already everything. For me,
Yes.
when I was going through postpartum depression, it was much easier to share with people because I'm like, this is a chemical imbalance. I'm medicating it. It's going to be fine. Like, this is what has been wrong with me. Easy, easy, easy.
Yes.
But then whenever I was going through depression later, unrelated to hormones and more related to things that were going on in my life, it was really difficult
Yes.
to open up about that. It was really hard because I'm like, okay, well, last time it was postpartum depression. Now it's just like major depressive disorder. And how do I share that with who is going to understand that? And it's really hard because
Yes.
you're like, oh, my friends will understand it, but you don't want your friends to view you differently, And at the time I was married, and boy, my husband was not really going to understand it. So that was kind of a no-go. But it's so much easier to share it whenever it's something that you're like, here's the reason. But with depression, there
Yes.
is not always a real reason that you can point to and say, this is the thing that caused my depression.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
hard. But good on your doctor for saying, hey, that's not normal. Let's do this other thing. Let's do this other assessment. Not all doctors would catch
Right.
that. Not all the doctors, at least here, would spend the time with the patient to be able to catch something like that. So good for your doctor. Good for you for being open and sharing and everything. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I will also just say, like, I'm a crier. I cry all the time. So if you need to cry, it's all good. We're okay with that here. Most definitely. Just grab a tissue. It's all good.
Okay.
You mentioned this a little bit, but you mentioned kind of like you're a nurse and how are you going to explain that you're a nurse who has depression? So what was it like for you to be a nurse, and did you kind of feel that pressure to have it all together as far as you're a nurse, you should know better, and those kinds of lines of thinking? How was that for you?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, I felt that pressure, and I think it's also pressure that I put on my own self.
Yeah.
We put these pressure on ourselves, and when we check it out, probably no one else is putting that pressure but ourselves, right? But I think it's just me putting it on myself to say, "Oh, I'm a nurse. I should know better. I should be taking better care of myself. I should have seen it coming, you
Mm.
know." So I think it was just the pressure that I personally put on my own self that I had to have together. But as I looked around, and it's funny, um, when you start experiencing this yourself, you get to see people who are experiencing it. And then I realized that as a nurse, I was not the only nurse experiencing that, right? Which was interesting, right?
Yeah.
So then it made me feel a little bit more like a human to say, oh, Genese, it's not about being a nurse. The nurse is a profession, but you're Genese, a person. And persons go through emotional hurt
Mm-hmm.
and pain, and it's okay. So I had to give myself the permission to say, well, if you want to call it a mistake, you made a mistake, or you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It's human. You're human, right? So, but as I kept my ears open more, because I found that I was keeping my ears open a little bit more, and I was finding out that there were people going through their issues, whether relationship, whether children were, whatever it is, and it was causing them, and it was affecting them emotionally,
Mm.
and they were not coping, right? And probably they were not admitting to the depression either, but they were still having coping issues, and they weren't dealing with it. And it helped me now to understand at this point now I could share my story with persons, because I don't just share my story just because, right? But if I see like probably an opportunity opens with someone, and like I see them said, "Are you okay?" And then you get talking, and they open a little bit, then I can share my story to encourage them. So now I realize that what I went through was not just for me, but was also to help other people who are going through similar situation, who think that, listen, am I hopeless? Is my situation hopeless? Is there any way out? I want to see someone who has made it out. So then I can be the testament to say, you know, I went through this and I came out. So if I can come out, you can come out also, right? So I took away that pressure from myself and I gave myself permission to be human and not just a nurse going through depression, but a human being actually experiencing it.
I love the comparison of just like you're not your profession. You're not one thing, right? You are a human being with a whole range of human experiences and a whole range of emotions and a whole range of things that you face every day. And you can't just pin it. So many people are like, oh, I should have known better. Oh, because I do this, or I've seen this, or I've been through this. And it's like, yeah, but everyone's been through so much, and you can't expect yourself to be perfect, first of all, and to know everything until you've been through it yourself anyway. And even if you've been through it before, there's still a chance you'll go through it again. So, yeah, it's I'm glad that you kind of saw the people around you a little bit in a different light too, because that was my experience as well. Just as soon as I started understanding what I was going through, as soon as I started, I was a little more open, like I said, with the postpartum depression. And it was super like people just immediately be like, oh yeah, I went through that too. And then tell me their story. And it's like, yeah, okay. I had no idea that so many people in my life had struggled with this because no one talks about it. So it's good whenever you can realize I'm not the only one. It makes a huge difference. What was the turning point that made you realize you needed to shift your approach to healing?
Yeah, turning point. I don't think it was just one quick turning point. It was just over a period of time. You know, you get up in the morning, you don't recognize a person. I don't recognize, who's this person? You're looking in the mirror like, who is this person? Like, and you realize that I don't like the person who I'm becoming, you know? And in your profession, a lot of people may not see because they see the professional, so they will compliment you on what you're doing. But in your inner circle, your family, your friends, you're seeing the change, and you're like, you're not the same person. You know, my husband is seeing the difference. My friends are seeing the difference. It's like my attitude starts pushing them away. It's like I want to be by myself. I don't want you. I don't want you. Stay away from me. And I think it's my way of saying they don't understand. I want them to understand. I'm trying to let them understand, but they're not understanding. So I'm like, oh no, go away. Just you're not helping me right now. So let me guard myself. Let me save myself. Let me protect myself right now. So what was happening is that I was pushing away a lot of people. I wasn't trusting people as much anymore in my inner circle. I didn't trust them anymore, and that attitude was coming out, right? So I was finding fault with everybody. They say something, they give me constructive criticism. I took it offensively, and I'm like, go away. Just my attitude was saying something different, right? And I just didn't like that person, you know, and I used to laugh more. And I found out that I was getting angry quicker and I was getting upset quicker and I was laughing less, you know, and it just is over a period of time that I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And it's just funny how help comes into your life. It's not how you really expected it. Because while all of this was happening and I was denying the depression, my husband was diagnosed with borderline diabetes, right? And his cholesterol was high. And he looked at me and the doctor gave him prescription. He wouldn't fill it. I'm like, what are you doing? And you know, the nurse part of me is like,
Yeah.
you gotta take your medication, right? And he's like, I don't want to do this. I want something non-conventional. Can you find someone who is non-conventional? And it was while looking for someone for him, for his borderline diabetes non-conventional, like a naturopath, then I set up an appointment with him. and he had the appointment with this lady, and he's like, oh my God, Genese, I love this lady. She's good. She knows what she's doing. I want to go to this program, and I want both of us to go on the journey together. And she was like holistic, right? And we went on that journey together, but it had to do with diet and also weight, because my husband is bigger built, right? So I am smaller, he's bigger, right? So so his diet was more around losing weight and of course, I didn't want to maintain my weight or gain. And so when we went on that journey together, she said to me, well, if your husband wants you to be there, your diet has to be different because you cannot go on a weight loss diet, right? And then we went on the journey together, but it was different. It covered mental health, it covered spiritual health, it covered physical health, the diet, it dealt with environment, it dealt with forgiveness, it dealt with past. It just was just holistic. So it was during this time and this program, we went on it for a year. You know, we went on diet changes, everything. So it was after this coaching period that, as I say, this was another one by default because it wasn't for me, but it became helpful for me. So at the end of this one, I weaned from my person.
Wow.
Which, right? Yes. So, and I think I went away from the question. Sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, no.
I think I
think you're still kind of there, because we were just talking about what made you realize you needed to shift your approach to healing. I think you're still there.
Okay, good. Right. So yes, so I mean, so that journey as well helped me to become a different person as well, because it was a holistic help, right? So in seeking for my husband and he encouraging me to join with him, that was a help for me to change as well. And, you know, it actually helped our marriage as well. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went through these experiences, a year-long journey, right? And you've been diagnosed with clinical depression. You also had a stroke, is that right?
That's correct.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So, it was just a regular day at work, and I was going to work, and then the phone rang. And it's funny because usually with stroke you don't remember presence, but I remember all of these incidents right so clear. So the phone rang, and you know, they were asking, "Are you coming to work?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm coming to work." In my head, I'm like, "Why is she calling me asking if I'm coming to work? Of course I'm going to go to work." And for me, I wasn't late or anything. I didn't have any concept of time at the time. For some reason, I couldn't figure out what time it was. But on the phone, she said to me, "You don't sound right. I mean, you're not speaking clearly." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm not speaking clearly?" "I'm speaking clearly." So in my head, I heard myself. I was clear.
Yeah.
But she said I wasn't clear. So anyway, I finished the conversation. I told her, I said, "Yes, I'm coming to work." I got ready and I started driving on the highway. Leading to the highway, just before I get onto the highway, I just did not feel right. So I said, let me call one of my girlfriends who is also a nurse. And, you know, I said, you know, I don't feel good. There's something off. I can't put my finger in it. There's something's off. She said, call 911. So by the time I'm supposed to call 911, of course, I'm still driving. So I'm calling her and I'm driving still. And I'm calling 911 and I'm on the highway. And I remember looking to my side, and I saw this guy looking at me as if he's saying, "Why are you on your phone on the highway?" So anyway, I'm not looking at him. I'm talking to them on the phone. So when they answered, you know, they're like, "Okay, what's wrong?" So I just told them exactly what I told my girlfriend, you know, I just don't feel right. So they say, "Okay, put your hazard light on and just move over to the right." And I said, "Oh my God, where's the hazard light? I can't find the hazard light." And they said, "Okay, pull over." And I'm trying to look to my right, and it's as if I can't see anything. Like I don't have any peripheral vision. I can't see that the vehicles are just going so fast. Can't figure out what's going on. So I said, I can't pull over. So they said, "Stop right where you are." And you know, because this is a journey that I go every day to work, I know this road all the time. So I told them exactly where I was. And in no time, I could hear the sirens behind me coming. and my vehicle was parked in the middle of the road. And, they came, they took me to the ambulance, and someone dealt with the car. And I was in emergency. And I remember saying to the doctor, oh, I think you have to hurry up because I need to get to work.
Oh, no.
To work. He said, oh, I need to let you know, you're not going to work. You're having a stroke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And, that's another shocker for me, right? And yes, so, of course, they're doing whatever. And I don't think I got a chance to call the unit until after everything was done. And then I was able to, let them know that I'm not. And it was the same hospital that I'm working that they brought.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so I was working on the heart surgery unit. And then that was like on the 9th floor. And then the emergency was on the main floor. So yes, I went there, and it is funny when you take on the patient role, you're just different. And I'm embarrassed to say I wasn't a good patient because I couldn't pee, and they wanted to catheterize me. But then at the time, I was having my period. I'm like, no way. In my head, it's funny. I wasn't thinking logically as a nurse. I wasn't thinking logically as a person. I'm just thinking of someone going down there, and I'm having my period. And I'm like, no way. And I remember fighting and fighting. I can't remember how they got. I don't know if they tied me or they gave me an injection or whatever. But anyway, during the whole process, though, I remember a doctor, she just came right into my face. And she just smiled at me, and she spoke to me, and for some reason I just felt safe. I just felt that safety. And yes, I was admitted for a few days, and I had to go through and everything. They gave me. I was off work for a while. Took me a while to get my medicine and everything. During that time, it was a very frustrating time for me because my memory went. And at the time, they were asking me, who they were testing your memory. So they'd ask me the prime minister. And I remember when they were asking me, I said, I know it. It's like it was in my head, but it couldn't come on my lips.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. And they were asking me questions that it was in my head, but it just would not come to my lips. And then, of course, I lost my peripheral vision. And then, of course, I had to meet the discharge criteria to show that I'd be safe being at home. But there was I just keep going back to square one. And I remember took up the Bible, and there were certain verses that I had to use to encourage me because I was just so angry, just so angry. But then I just kept using one verse just to meditate on it and just to use it to strengthen me. And it was just during that time. And then, I got, they visited me from the church, and, they prayed with me and, encouraged me. And my colleagues, work in the same place, they came and visit.
Easy for them to come and see you, right?
Yes. But it was a very challenging time, though. Very challenging time. Yeah.
Do you remember the particular Bible verse that you turned to over and over?
I think it was Psalm 37. Let me think. I think it was Psalm 37. And I was looking at it and I'm like, this Bible verse, it doesn't really speak to the situation, but it was just encouraging to me. Right. Psalm 37, verse 5, where it says, commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Right. So, and I just, it wasn't related to the situation itself, but I just found comfort in that verse. And I just, saying that to myself, and found it in.
Yeah. And you gotta find the things that bring you comfort, right? Like that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
How did your diagnoses, both of stroke and depression, and what you went through and kind of the recovery and everything, how did that impact your perspective on mental health and recovery?
Wow. It was a big, big difference. And I just had to say, I'm grateful to have this experience because I see things so different. Sometimes my colleagues will look at me and say, oh, Genese, you're so patient, how come you're so patient? and then sometimes, patients will look at me, oh, how do you do this? And I said, I'm able to do this because they would use the word like empathy, they think that I understood what they were going through. And I said it was because I have been on the other side quite a few times because I've been in and out of the hospital a lot, surgeries, for depression too, and stroke. So I've been there. So I know what it's like to be there, and I know what I want when I'm in that bed, So then I know I don't want people to be taking things personally. I just want them to just make that environment safe for me, make me feel safe. And that's what I try to do, So because I've been there, I understand. And especially with stroke patients, when people like shout and they're shouting at them, I'm like, you don't need to shout. They can hear you.
Yeah.
They're not deaf. They just need to stroke. Because I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there, so I know there's not everything else is fine with them. It's just that the memories that and they hear everything, but it's just that it's not coming there. So because I've been there and I know how frustrating it is, I know I can speak to them normally, just like I'm speaking to someone else who nothing is wrong with them. So it helps me to relate more. And as far as depression is concerned, it has helped me to listen more to people. Don't be quick to judge what persons are going through. Take your time, listen to them. Don't be quick to give a solution either, because people don't necessarily want you to be fixing things. They just want someone to listen.
Yeah.
And, and it has taught me just really try my best to just put myself in that person's shoe and see if I can understand what they're going through, because I've been there and I know that's what helped me through when people were understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, those experiences have really helped provide better nursing care, I believe, and more understanding in those situations.
Absolutely. That perspective of the patient side of things and then being the provider on the other side, it really does change how you view it. And you're kind of looking at it going,
It
oh,
does.
I was here and I wish that they had or hadn't done that in particular.
Right?
It's a unique opportunity
Yeah.
for sure. Let me switch over to the chat real quick because that's one piece is here and says honestly not on the topic of depression, but I'd say schizophrenia counts too. And if you have anything that you want to talk about One Piece, you are welcome to chat about it. We're here to listen and incorporate you into the conversation if you would like to talk about what you're going through. So, are there any misconceptions about depression that you've encountered?
One of the big misconception I find, like somebody, you would tell somebody that, doctors say I'm depressed, and they're like, snap out of it.
Yeah, love that one. That's a good one.
And, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's insensitive, right? So it's a misconception, but not only it's a misconception, but it's just insensitive.
Yeah.
People just say, oh, just snap out of it. So they just think that you can just get over it, and I find that people think that because you're depressed, your diagnosis as being depressed, you're weak. So they'll say,
Mm.
oh, just be strong, get some rest and you feel better. Just think positive, think positive and you'll be fine. So, you're just going through a phase right now. So, I mean, you get over it. Just don't worry about it too much. So they just make light of it, I find. And it's a misconception that it's not something that you should deal with it. As I say, they don't see it as a giant that you need to face and deal with it appropriately. They just think it's just something that, oh, just here, like a dust here, just take a dusting cloth and just dust it off and it's gone, right? Um, and another thing I find that, and it's a misconception with me too, because I was thinking that, oh, because I'm so happy-go-lucky, I can't be depressed. I mean, I'm smiling, I'm happy. Yeah, and how can I be depressed, right? So that was a misconception on my part too, right? And another thing I find that a lot of people think that they're going to have to be on antidepressants for life. So once they're diagnosed as being depressed and they're put on these medication, they have life. There's no way they can get it.
Yeah. I really feel like, you know, first of all, like there is hope. Almost always for almost anything. There is hope for recovery to some degree. Um, but also like the things that people would say whenever they found out that I had major depressive disorder were very similar because I am a very smiley, I am a very, very laughy person. Like I am a very positive person to the point that I had some folks who would call me Pollyanna all the time because I'm like, I am just that positive and that optimistic about things.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you can't be depressed. You're literally smiling right now. Like, I'm sorry that
Yes.
that my depression doesn't look like you expect it to. My bad. I don't know what you want me to say there. But yeah, it's one of those things that gets to me. Or the treating it like it's just your run of the mill sadness, right? Because once you get to a a diagnosis of depression, it's beyond just a little bit of sadness about one thing or the other. And it's really hard to say, like, just get some extra rest, just go for a walk, get some sunshine. Like, you think I haven't tried all of that? Come on now.
Yes.
Please, please. Oh, One Piece says, I honestly don't have anything I've got to talk about, so I might as well go. You are welcome to stick around and listen. You never know what you might pick up, even if you haven't dealt with something like this. We talked about that at the very beginning. Even if you haven't dealt with something like depression in your entire life, you never know what you'll pick up from a conversation. But you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go, whatever floats your boat is just fine. Now, Genese, you focus on helping women over 40. Why do you think that group, a group that I am in now, in particular, struggles with depression?
Well, I mean, even though this group will struggle with depression, I should probably clarify. It's not that I think that this is the only group that's
Oh,
struggles with
absolutely.
depression,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. I know that every age group will struggle with depression, but the reason why I focus on this group is that when I was diagnosed with depression, I was over 40, and I think that it would be better able to relate to my own age group because sometimes you're talking to a teenager and they said, oh, you don't understand because you're not a teenager. I'm like, as if I wasn't a teenager before I
Right.
became 40. But, so, and, like if you're dealing with different age groups, sometimes persons will say to you that you don't understand me, right? So I find that this age group I focus on just because it's my age group. And they do struggle with it because if you look at this age group, it's like the middle. So they have children and they have parents, right? So and it's that nurturing part of them, right? So they have the need to take care of the needs of the children, the needs of the parents, and they're dealing with their own needs at work, as they build upon their own growth. Because at this age, when you reach 40s, like you're trying to see how can I improve myself? What can I do better? You start looking back at your life. What did I do in this life? How can I make different changes? So there's a kind of a pressure there. And you're just such a nurturing person. You're nurturing everybody. And then, as I mentioned before, I do feel guilty when I'm resting. And this age group feels guilty when they have to say no to others to say yes to themselves. So when you have to say no to someone say, oh, I need your help. Oh, and today I actually planned for my spa day. You feel guilty. You don't even want to tell them that it was your spa day because they need your help, right? So it's just you're juggling so much in this age group. There's so much to go through. And so much is going through your mind. Expectations, not only expectations from others, but the expectation that you put on your own self, in this age group. So that's what I've found. There's so much, and even the things that I've mentioned, if there are persons even listening over 40, they can add more stuff to that, reason why, they would be struggling with depression, right? Because the list is so long for this age group, what would cause them to be struggling with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really long list for sure. There's all kinds of things. Like it's a difficult stage of life. Not to say that any given stage of life has not come with its difficulties, because it definitely does. And yeah, you're right. You're kind of in that caregiver spot from two directions a lot of the time. That's tough.
Yeah.
Are there any tools or strategies you wish more women, or just folks in general, knew about when facing depression?
When you say know about, I have to think about that, know about, because um people know about stuff, but will they use it,
True.
right? Um because a lot of persons who are facing depression, they know about professional help, but they don't really use it
Yeah.
because of whatever the reason is. But I just wanted to highlight that professional help is a real good tool we should not dismiss. Yes, you want to talk to your friends, you want to talk to your family, but there are times when they will tell you what they want to tell you, but sometimes it's always good to get that professional perspective that they can take that on, because sometimes your friends and your family, they're going through their own things and they feel burdened with you telling them all of this. But when you go for professional help, they'll give you the time. They won't brush you off because you have that time, you have that half an hour, whereas, you go to your friend and your family. Yes, friends will spend time, don't get me wrong, but there are times when friends are busy, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have all the time. So, professional help is good. And what I learned too, that a lot of people will dismiss, and I dismissed it personally too, was diet.
Mm.
How the important role that diet plays in helping us, when you really get into your diet and really make the diet changes that you need to do just to help with dealing with depression, and that's really something that people need to really focus on, do research on that. And if you don't know, find out from someone else who knows. And if you don't know anyone, then of course it goes back to professional help, right? To get that. But one thing for sure that I know a lot of people overlook is gratitude journal.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, gratitude journal. That's a nice tool. I started doing that where I would um, have a book and every day I'd write 10 things that I'm grateful for, 10 different things that I'm grateful for. And it get me in the sense of gratitude all the time. So then I focus, it kind of redirects my thought. And it's not a quick fix. It's just getting yourself in a frame of mind. It's just developing that
Mm-hmm.
that muscle, that extra muscle that will help you go on, because everything don't happen immediately. But some things, like when you're eating and you're exercising, you don't just get fit right away. But over time, you see the difference. So a gratitude journal over time, you will see it as your thoughts focus. And when you pay attention to your thoughts, what are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself? Listen closer to what it. And Jamie, I'm trying to remember. She writes this book called Worthy, and she was saying the difference between being confident and being and thinking yourself is worthy. So a lot of us we have high self-confidence, but still we don't think that we are worthy of a good life. We're worthy to receive good stuff, right? Um, let's see, her name is Jamie Curran Lima. She writes the book Worthy. Yes, and she talks about, everyone is worthy of love as well. So when we can start focusing on our thoughts, so that would be another tool that people need to use, and strategy, I always call it, where you're focusing on what you're telling yourself. Listen to yourself. What are you telling yourself, Are you saying I'm no good? Are you saying I can't do this, How can you change your story, Um, and I'm big on prayer, so prayer is when, I don't think it's something that I do because I think I'm righteous, but because I think I'm a weak person and I just need help. So the prayer is when I cry out to God and I say, God, please help me, because, today I'm not feeling good about certain things and I need help, and it's where you see the need for help, you accept help, because we're big givers. As women, we give a lot, but we don't receive help a lot. And I find prayer helped me to receive help from God to do and help me throughout. So prayer is good. Listening to music, Just spending quiet time and just meditating and reading good books, you know, audiobooks, whether you're going to read it, listen to it, those are a few things I think really good and really helps me.
Yeah, a lot of those things kind of come back to the self-care aspect of it also. It's like what do you need to take care of yourself? Because I think that we as women of a certain age don't necessarily consider like we're looking at everyone else's needs, but what do you need to take care of yourself? Is it prayer? Is it gratitude? Is it reading? Is it listening to music? Is it any of these things? What would help you in particular? And it's hard if you are already depressed. This is something we've talked about before on this show for sure. It's hard if you are already depressed to come up with that list. It's hard to say what would
Yes.
help me right now if you're already depressed. So my advice that
Yes.
I will tack on to yours is to just, if you are having a good day, if you are having a day where you feel like you are happy, you are healthy, you are on it, you are just thriving, right? Write down what would help you the next time you are not having a good day. Because you on your bad day can't come up with that list the way that you on a good day
That's
can.
an awesome idea.
Yeah.
That's so right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And then you can look back and you can say, "Oh, thank you, former me, for writing this down because I need it today."
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, we've
absolutely.
talked about that pretty extensively. Just the making sure that you have your list and don't try to make the list if you are already in a bad place. If you are already having a dark day, do not put it on yourself. It's just one more thing that you're trying to get yourself to do. That's not the time.
We
That's
don't want
not
to
the
do
place.
anything on
Yeah,
dark
no,
days.
no, no.
You're
Don't put
tired, you
that on
want to
there.
sleep, you want to lay down,
Yep.
you just want to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's so true.
How can family members or friends best support someone who's going through depression?
Yes. I mean, a lot of people have, when they're going through depression, sometimes family members don't really understand as much as they want them to understand, right? So for family members, I think the best way that they can support is to listen more.
Mm,
Just take that time to just listen more and say less. You know, do less talking. Forget about what you want to contribute to the conversation. Just take the time to listen and then for them to listen what's said verbally, non-verbally, what's said, what's not said, and just take that time and not to be quick to make a judgment statement, because
mm,
sometimes you tell your story and they start to tell you why. This is why you're depressed. This is why you're depressed because you're not doing this, you're not doing this, and you need to start doing that. So I'm just thinking how they can support. And sometimes, I am coming to realize that people say things out of love. Sometimes they love you and they want to care, but sometimes they don't know how to say it. And sometimes not what they say is how they say it too, right? And sometimes people are not very kind with the words that they say. And when you're going through that time, it's for them to be more kind, be kind, you know. It helps and see if they can fit their feet in the shoes that that person is walking in. See if they can fit their feet in there, and not to be eager to help
mm-hmm.
and to quick come up with a solution, and to be honest, if they don't know what to say, don't try to say something because they think they should be saying something. If they don't know what to say, this all they need to say is, you know what? I see you're going through a hard time. I really don't know what to say, but
Yeah.
I'm here for you. And I think, and if they don't understand, say it. I really don't understand what you're going, but I'm here for you. Just say all the things, what you're feeling. Uh, You know, they don't need to feel that they have to say all the right things anymore. Just just be themselves. Whatever they're feeling, just say it. If they're overwhelmed and they don't understand, because I mean, a lot of times, unless someone has actually been there, it's hard for them to really say, I truly understand what you're going
Mm-hmm.
through, right? Yeah, sometimes people say, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. And they've never been through a situation like that, right? So yeah, listen and just be nice and be kind. I think that's so important. If they need to give a hug, if that person likes a hug, give them a hug, and just sit in silence. Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that you're not saying this is what's going to work for everyone, because it's definitely you have to listen to your loved one. You have to listen to your friend or family member about what they're going through. What are their experiences right now? And that can be really hard to do because we just want to jump to the solution. I've had to really rein that in a little bit with my kids because I've got a teenager, I've got an almost teenager, and I have to be like, okay, you've got an issue, let's fix it. And I have to hold myself back and say, do you want me to help you fix it? Do you want me to
Yeah.
advise you? Do you want me to take care of it? Do you want me to just listen? And just giving them that option of like, how can I support you right now? Instead of saying, great, I'm here to fix it. I mean, first of all,
Yes.
like you're giving someone the kind of support that you know they're going to need. You're not guessing anymore. You're saying, here's what I can offer. I can offer a listening ear. I can offer to help you try to figure out a solution. I can offer to take care of something like scheduling a doctor's appointment for you. But you're giving them the option to say, actually, I don't need you to help me with any of this stuff. I just need you to listen. Can you do that? And then you just
Yes.
listen for them. And it's really empowering because then you're giving them a way to identify what they need. And maybe they haven't thought of it that way before. Maybe they're just used to someone coming in and saying, well, if you talk to me, we're going to start to brainstorm and fix it. You're giving them that option to kind of identify how you can best help them. So I like that a lot. That's great.
Yes. Great.
Can you share an example of a moment or a time where you felt like you truly made a difference in someone's life through your work?
So when you say through my work, was like just what I'm doing or at work as a nurse, you
Either,
talking?
I mean, either as a nurse or even as, a coach or with what you're doing now, just, kind of developing the course and everything. Any of those would be fine. You take your pick.
Okay, great. I mean, sometimes people give you feedback, but I mean, one of the things that really touched me was, like I've been to different groups and, I became close to this lady and, she was really going through a really tough time. And after a while, she just started isolating herself from the group and she just isolated herself, and I kept, checking on her. It's here, it's there, not really. And I remember one day, I just felt like I had this encouragement quote that I just needed to send her. Like it was a few words, a few words. And I wrote it and I sent it to her. And I didn't know what to expect, but because I mean she hasn't been responding that much, I didn't really expect anything. I just left it as is because I said, she's going through her time. But what hit me was when, she said thank you, and then she said to me that, you don't know how much I needed to hear these words. So then you know that you really did something, right? When somebody say you don't, I needed to hear these words, and then she went on to say, it just seems as if it's just one struggle after another struggle, and then just one battle after another battle, and she just really needed that. So for me, at that moment, I felt like I did something. Sometimes when people said yes, thank you, that, but the fact that she said you didn't know,
Yeah,
right? It means to me that, oh, Janice, you actually made a difference here. And I was just glad to hear that at this time I was able to lift up her spirits and, emotionally when she needed,
yeah,
because those are the times when you just feel like, your words and action goes a far way.
definitely.
Yeah.
And it sounds like she was able to open up to you more after that. Like it kind of gave that stepping off point to say, like, let's have a
Yeah.
little more of a conversation. That's great.
Yeah.
Can someone fully heal from depression, or is it kind of that lifelong journey?
If you had asked me during the time when I was depressed, I would say, nope, they can't. But now I can say, with the right support and the right help, I believe that people can fully have come to a full recovery from depression. That's my honest opinion. Even though sometimes for some people it may feel like a lifelong journey because every now and then you feel like you're making one step forward and two step backward. But yes, I believe that people can fully recover with the right therapy and support, you know, treatment. Yes.
It's interesting that you say like in that moment, whenever you're in the middle of it, it's going to feel like the answer is absolutely not, because that's so true. Like no, when you're in that, you're like, no, this is never going to end. This is my life now. What a shit show, you know? And it's like you're just not going to think that you're going to get through it, and you're not going to think that it's ever going to get better, but it can get better.
Yes,
You got to seek out the ways that are going to work for you. So
yes.
Bite Mark sent in a question ahead of time. She would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
My favorite poem. It may sound corny, but it's my favorite. Heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, kept toiling upward through the night. It's been my favorite from a child growing up until now. It's just my favorite. It's a poem that encourages me to always work hard. And when others are wasting time when they're sleeping, so when I'm up and I'm working, it's because I did the work, right? So that's my favorite.
I like that. No, I don't think that's corny at all. I think that that's great. I mean, listen, any poem that brings you joy or brings you a smile to your face or inspires you, like there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah.
What is your favorite life hack? And I know we talked about this a little bit ahead of time, and sometimes people do have a little bit of a struggle like with coming up with kind of that life hack.
Yeah.
So if you have thought of one, that's great and you can share it. If not, that is totally okay.
Right. And I mean, I just couldn't think of a life hack, but I'm saying, I'm just a checklist kind of person. I'm all about checklists, checklist for this, checklist for that. And, if there's something wrong, my husband, he will leave and he doesn't have his driver's license. So now I have a little checklist right at the opening the door. Things to remember before you leave the house. Driver's license, wallet. That, I'm just a checklist kind of person. So I guess that's for me, checklist.
Yeah, checklist. And again, so this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? Making your list whenever you're having a good day, because a checklist is a way to make sure that you're not going to forget something in whatever that moment is that you need that checklist. So yeah, I think that's a great life hack. And some people absolutely love checklists. Some people really don't like to have a checklist. I am a checklist person. I like to have a list. It's almost always just in my head. But I do have, like, whenever I go on family vacations and stuff, I make sure to give each kid a list so that they know what they're supposed to pack. And so they're not packing 20 pairs of pants and no shirts, that kind of thing. So, yeah, checklists are great and super helpful most of the time. All right, well, it is time for our magic moment. Here we go. I thought this was going to stop working. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness or talking about mental health, what would it be?
And it has to be one of the ones that I see. Snap out of it. So, I would like people to stop thinking that it's something that you can just snap out of. You can just get, oh yeah, and just see it that everyone goes through their challenges, and just realize that we all go through different challenges, and we just have to embrace it and deal with it as it comes, right? Yeah.
Magic beam that understanding straight into everyone's brains. 100%. Yes, please. Absolutely. That would make things so much easier if everyone just understood that it's not something you can just snap out of. It would make things a lot easier. Yeah. The immediate understanding would make things a lot easier.
Yes.
Well, Genese, I am going to post your socials one more time so that people know how they can reach you. And while I am doing that, I'm just going to open up the floor to you. If there's anything we didn't cover or a resource you want to point out or anything like that, I will just give the floor to you while I make sure people can get to you.
Yeah, just before I came on, I said to myself, I'm going to jot down some important, I just was just trying to do it from what I've learned. So I thought I'd just make a few notes here. So I did make a few notes, and I said I was going to say, that's what I want to say at the end, just to pass persons, for me. And going through depression, one of my main aim, I always want to try to get someone to understand what I'm going through, but it was like an uphill battle. So then I realized that I want to encourage persons that don't spend too much time trying to get people to understand what you're going through and why you decide to do what you do, because it's okay for people not to, because I mean, if you try and they don't, you're just going to frustrate yourself a little bit more. So I just thought it was one of my frustrations. So I just wanted to encourage persons, try your best not to do that. And I said, as we heal, I think it's important that we keep strengthening ourselves and never think that we have arrived and that nothing will ever bother us again. Every day brings its challenges, some easy to deal with, some takes us off guard. So we should be prepared for the unexpected. And there have been times when I have to say, I think I was over it. So I was just kind of reading what I wrote, right? So what I'm saying is that there have been times when I'm just hit by something and I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought I was over that. Where did that come from? Took me way off guard. So I just want to encourage persons, if you're just going through and you were diagnosed with depression and you feel like you're going uphill and all of a sudden you just feel like you're going downhill, don't be discouraged. There are going to be those days when something takes you off guard and you think you dealt with it already and you're totally over it and it hits you really hard. But I want to encourage you, it happens. And it doesn't mean that you're going back. Part of the process, work with it and just keep encouraging yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself grace. That's one thing I've learned to do. Give myself grace, give myself permission to feel sad, give myself permission to feel bad about something, and give myself permission to cry. I mean, you're saying that it's okay to cry. I mean, sometimes I am a bit hard and say, oh, stop crying, stop it. But yeah, we have to give ourselves permission for it's important. It's part of the healing process. And yes, and then I did say before, but I want to just highlight it again. Pay attention to your thoughts. Not everything that comes to your mind is reality, but it's good to acknowledge it, right? So as they come. So if you feel discouraged, acknowledge, I do feel discouraged, but then choose something to strengthen yourself and said, I feel discouraged, but I'm now going to encourage myself with this, knowing, and find one of your strengths. So in those days that are good, write down your strengths. And then when you feel discouraged, look back at your strength and use that to encourage yourself. Yeah, those are the pointers I said I wanted to go through.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And I just recently posted something in our community Discord about that very thing that you were talking about, where sometimes something will just come up out of the blue and you're like, I thought I was done with this. I thought I was not holding on to this anymore. And here it is in my face. Can't ignore it. So the thing that I posted was a video of someone taking a wine glass full of red wine, putting it in the sink, turning on the water faucet, and the water runs into the red wine glass. Obviously, it doesn't change the color of the wine immediately. It takes actually a lot of time of water pouring into that glass to eventually clear all of that wine out to where it's clear water again. And so it was kind of talking about like, that's healing, right? You can't immediately heal everything. You're going to think you were pretty much done with it. And then you're going to get a little bit of a drop of water and it's going to taste a little bit like wine still. And so you gotta just give yourself, like you were saying, kind of that grace and that space to really heal and to understand that healing is not a straight shot. You are not going to heal immediately, perfectly. Things can come up years later when you thought you were done with them, and it's okay. You just have to give yourself that grace to kind of get through it. And that's hard. It's hard to do in the moment. It's really hard to do. So, but I love that. I think that that's wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
Well, Genese, thank you so much for taking the time out for this conversation. I had a blast talking to you. The subject matter might be very heavy, but our conversation was beautiful. So Thank you for taking the time out with us today.
And thank you so much for having me. Yes. Initially I was a little bit nervous, but I did get into talking and I forget shared. It's just nice sharing, and I'm just hoping that somebody here, wherever they are, will be blessed and be encouraged no matter what they're going through, knowing that there is still hope. There's hope, and just be patient with themselves.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm glad you were more at ease as we got into the conversation. I love these conversations, and once you relax into it and you really start digging into it, it's always a good time. It's always a good time to kind of get through and do all of that.
Yes.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us and just for this conversation in general. That's it for today's episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart. Huge thanks to Genese Smith for showing up with honesty, vulnerability, and a whole lot of insight. If you've ever been told to snap out of it or felt guilty for needing rest, or felt like you had to keep your struggles to yourself because of your job or your family, I hope hearing Genese's story helped you feel a little more seen. We talked about a lot: the pressure to look like you've got it all together, how burnout creeps up on you, the fear and shame that come with admitting you're struggling, and how recovery is never one size fits all. Genese reminded us that being in a helping profession doesn't mean you're immune to depression. Being strong doesn't mean you don't break down. And rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity, even if you're still learning how to give yourself permission to take it. Whether you're someone who's in the middle of a depressive episode right now, or you've been through one in the past, or you're just trying to support someone that you care about, this conversation is your reminder that healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you've made progress, and some days might take you by surprise. That doesn't mean you're failing, it just means you're human. So take what you need from this episode, and if you found something helpful here, something that clicked, something you want to remember or pass along, I'd love it if you'd hit that like button, leave a review or a comment, or subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Those actions are free and they help the show reach more folks who might be struggling quietly and need to hear that they are not alone. You can also follow me and join the Even Tacos Fall Apart community on social media. I am MommaFoxFire everywhere, but you can also search for Even Tacos Fall Apart. We've got a Discord server if you want to connect with people in a low-pressure, supportive space. And I always love hearing what's resonating with you, so the links are in the show notes. You can find how to connect with me and the community there. And finally, if today hit home, or if you're going through it and you're not sure where to start, just remember this: even tacos fall apart, and we still love them. And I still love you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.